Mission Dorothy podcast with your hostess, Tamikis Williams. Hey, thank you so much for joining me here at Mission Dorothy, the podcast. I am Tamikis Williams, your hostess. I hope that you guys are doing fantastic. I promise you guys I am going to make this one short. I know my last episode was very long, but I was really trying to give you guys all the meat because I know that so many people struggle with imposter syndrome. And so I know I was kind of like giving y'all all the business, but I am going to make this episode short and straight to the point without all of my stories. How about that? Y'all know I'm long-winded, so don't play. Okay. So today, first I want to start out with reviewing what we talked about in the last episode, and then I will move on to the next 10 steps that you can utilize in order to control imposter syndrome, right? So let's remember what imposter syndrome is. So imposter syndrome is a phenomenon in which an individual doubts their abilities and accomplishments and fears being exposed as a fraud, right? It often characterized by feelings of self-doubt, inadequacy, and insecurity, right? And so then I also gave you guys 5 different causes for imposter syndrome. So of course there are several causes, but I gave you guys a good 5. And those 5 were perfectionism, social comparison, lack of external validation, unconscious biases, and trauma or past negative life experiences, right? So I hope that you guys enjoyed that last episode and really got, some good information out of the last episode. I hope you guys wrote down the 10 strategies that I share with you as well. And so I will go ahead and review those really quick. So the first, number 1, was recognizing and acknowledging your feelings. Number 2, challenge negative thoughts. Number 3, reframe negative thoughts. Number 4, change your negative self-talk. Number 5, accept compliments. Number 6, seek support, meaning people who are willing to be there and support you and validate you. Number 7, avoid comparison. Number 8, set realistic goals. Number 9, practice self-compassion. And number 10 was develop a growth mindset. All right. And so today we are going to start out with just simply number 1. Today's first step out of the 10 will be just to identify and label imposter syndrome, right? You want to try to recognize that feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy are there, right? But I also want you to understand that, self-doubt and inadequacy, it's a common experience, right? And it's something that we all experience. So it's nothing new, right? And so self-doubt creeps in, that inadequacy creeps in. And when it is there, in overload, that's when that imposter syndrome comes in. And so basically, just simply recognize the fact that you are having these feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy, right? But I also want you to identify when these feelings come up, right? Is it just at work? Is it in your relationships? Like, try to figure out when it tends to creep up on you and what type of situations and in what environments, what relationships does self-doubt and inadequacy pop up. Okay. And once you're able to recognize that, then you know that once you're going into that environment or being around that person, then you know that you got to start to equip yourself so that when you arrive, you're able to live in your authentic self and not allow the imposter syndrome to cause you to put on a mask and cover up your true self, right? So once again, I want you to make sure that you are identifying and labeling the imposter syndrome, as well as the triggers and the environments or people who tend to trigger that for you. Okay? All right. So that's number one. Number two is acknowledge your successes. I talked about this briefly in the last episode, but I wanted to, really talk about it here because a lot of times people do not acknowledge their successes. It's on to the next, right? So it's like, I finished school. Now let me go find a job without celebrating the fact that you completed school, right? You did the homework, you stayed up late, you sacrificed your time, you sacrificed time with your family. It's a lot of sacrifice when you're going to school. And so a lot of, often people are quick to when they'll graduate and then it's like, let me find a job and it's on to the next without celebrating. Celebrating your successes is a self-esteem booster, number one, but it also, is a recognition of the hard work and effort that you put in. Right? Like, don't sit there and do all of this work. And because I don't know about y'all, but I know when I was in college, it was a lot of days where, child, I was throwing my books against the wall. Like I was so frustrated, especially when I was taking statistics, and just the classes that I really did not care for. And so, just getting frustrated, but also tired. While I was going to college, I was also raising my daughter as a single parent. And I was trying to work. It's like school was taking up a lot of my time. It was just a lot. And so there were plenty of days where I was in tears. I was frustrated. I was ready to quit school. I just it was times where I really did want to give up. And so I thank God I was able to push past, the irritation and frustration and finish, right? And you better believe I definitely acknowledged as well as celebrated my hard work and the effort that I put in when it came to college, right? So please start. I don't care how small the success is, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that. Right? If you finish one class, acknowledge that. If you get a raise on your job or you get promoted, acknowledge that. If you see growth in your marriage, acknowledge that, right? Because you guys had to put the work in order to do so. You know what I'm saying? So acknowledge your successes is number two. Okay? Celebrate your achievements and successes and recognize that they are the result of your hard work and your effort. Okay? All right. So number three will be embrace mistakes and failures. So even though we are acknowledging our successes, we also want to embrace our mistakes and our failures, right? Many times people will lose the motivation if they fail at something, but there is a lot of goodness in failure, right? It's a lot of goodness in failure, right? It's viewing the mistakes and the failures as an opportunity for growth and learning. In the last episode, I talked about how when I took my exams and I failed them, I was falling apart. But guess what? Now I know what's on the exam. Now when I go back and study, I know what to study, right? When I first took the exam, I had no idea about what the exam was really going to look like. I knew some of the topics that were going to be covered on the exam, but I did not know exactly what was on there. And so, being that I took the exam and did not pass it the first time, when I went back home, I now had a clear understanding of what they're looking for with the exam. And then when I went back, I was able to pass it, right? So embrace the mistakes and failure. Don't allow failure to make you quit. Like no, we are people of resiliency, right? And so do not allow failure to cause you to just give up. Yeah, it's easier to give up and it's harder to try again, but your outcome will be different. And sometimes, some people may have, failed once or twice, and the third time just may be the sweet spot, but just make sure that you allow yourself to stay motivated so that you don't quit. Right? Anything worth having is worth working for. Nobody said that it would be easy. You know what I'm saying? Even if you have to say those two quotes to yourself, just to remind yourself to just keep moving and keep going. Sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of times failure is a part of success. You're not going to always get it the first time around. Right? You may not do, great. You know what I'm saying? But don't allow failure to stop you from achieving your goals. Right? And then when we think about mistakes, yes, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I went to go and take the GACE, right? I was thinking about going into the school system to work with special ed. And I took the GACE exam. Now, I have test anxiety. So when I take an exam, like I have a whole little ritual, that I do. But when I took the GACE, the anxiety was so demanding, or just, it was so strong to where 5 minutes before time was up, I realized that I missed a whole portion of the exam. Like I missed the entire, the second half of the exam. I didn't do it. I don't know how I missed it. Well, I do know the test anxiety. Right. And we had 5 minutes left. So I just started, as they say, mark C or whatever. So I just started marking stuff. Right. And it was so crazy because I passed the part that I did complete. But of course, the part that I forgot and I just went in and marked answers, I failed that. And so I did not go back and take the GACE again, simply because I was taking it really out of frustration because I was tired, I was frustrated with the job where I was, right? So I was just looking for something else to do, right? And it wasn't really something I really, really wanted to do. So that's why I didn't go back and take it. But if it was something that I wanted to, really wanted to do, then I would have definitely went back and took the exam, right? So do not allow your mistakes and your failures to cause you to quit. Okay. Do not allow your mistakes and your failures to promote that imposter syndrome. Nobody is perfect, right? Nobody is perfect, right? And so at the end of the day, your truth is your truth. Don't compare yourself to others, and just make sure, that you work to give yourself a fair chance and be honest with yourself. If you know you didn't study properly, if you did not give it your all, then, acknowledge that. Right. And even if you did, sometimes everything just will not align. So sometimes it just, things may not work out the way you want it to. And then you just have to go back and try again. Okay. So embrace those mistakes and those failures. And that too will help to reduce the imposter syndrome. Okay. All right. So number 4 is going to be seek feedback, right? Seek feedback. Ask for feedback from colleagues, from your mentors and just any trusted advisors to gain perspective of your strengths and areas for improvement, right? So you can always, let's just say if you feel like you have imposter syndrome on the job, hopefully, because everybody do not have someone in leadership that they trust, feel comfortable with, and feel like they can go to and like really be vulnerable. Right. And then some people do. So if you do have someone that you can talk to, whether it's in leadership or whether it's a coworker, and you guys kind of work close together or in the same area, department on your job, then ask for feedback. Ask them, what do you feel like my strengths are? And what do you feel like my weaknesses are? And let them know, don't be afraid to tell me what my weaknesses are, because I'm asking you because I really want to improve. Right? So when you know your strengths, when you know your weaknesses, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a leg up just right there when it comes to imposter syndrome. Right? It's important to stay in your lane. So if you know what your strengths are, then stay in that lane. If you know what your weaknesses are, stay out of that lane. Right? So seek feedback from people that you know are going to be really honest with you. In your relationships, ask your partner, right? Ask them how they feel. Ask them, what do you think my strengths and my weaknesses are, right? And please, please, please understand. Be open to constructive criticism, right? Don't get defensive when they say something that you may not agree with. Okay? Take the advice or, take their feedback, and then you decide what you want to do with that feedback, right? And you know the difference between criticism and constructive criticism, right? And so seeking feedback is definitely important. Y'all know how they do those performance. It's been so long I can't even remember. Oh God, what do they call them? It was always an acronym, but the little performance measurement that they do once a year when it comes to your work, right? And oftentimes, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking back to my jobs that I've worked in the past, and often people are afraid to give themselves fours on those performance. God, what is the term, y'all? I don't know. I forgot it. But on the performance guide or whatever, right? Like I would give myself fours. Because number one, I already knew that I was excelling on the job. And I don't know why jobs hesitate about giving people fours. Like that builds morale. That makes a person feel seen and appreciated. So I would give myself fours to certain areas, right? If I knew that I excelled in that, I was giving myself a 4, and I will bag it up. You know what I'm saying? In my conversation with leadership, so don't be afraid when they ask you to measure yourself. Don't be afraid to give yourself a 4 if you know that you excel in that area. Sorry, that was a sidebar. But seek feedback. That feedback is so important. Even think about it too when it comes to your children, right? If you feel like you're not being the best mom, and some imposter syndrome, some self-doubt and inadequacy show up in your parenting, then ask your children. You know what I'm saying? Your children, even though they're your children, they have a voice too, right? So ask your children how they feel about your parenting, about different areas when it comes to parenting, and see what they say. You know what I'm saying? Do not be afraid, because getting feedback, all it does is help you to get better, right? It helps you to grow. It helps you to improve, right? So seek feedback, because if you're growing and you're improving in an area where you were kind of mediocre or not, or really like not doing well at all, then once again, another self-esteem booster, because you put the work in order to grow and improve. And it's just important to acknowledge that effort, you know what I'm saying, that you put in as well. So don't be afraid to seek that feedback. Okay. All right. So that's 4 so far. We're going to go to number 5. So number 5 is take action, right? Take action. Don't let imposter syndrome hold you back. Take action and pursue your goals and aspirations, period. Right? Don't allow it to stop you. We know fear will paralyze you. It feel like you're standing in cement. Okay? And you just cannot move. No, take action. Utilize these. I'm giving you, it's 20 steps in all. So I'm giving you 20 strategies that you can utilize in order to deal with or overcome imposter syndrome. That's taking action, right? Don't listen to this episode and don't put this to work. Okay? Because we all have moments when we feel inadequate. And we also have moments when we're self-doubting. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the imposter syndrome. Those are the building blocks to imposter syndrome. So take action. If you know you need to make changes, make changes. If you know you need to get some feedback, get that feedback. If you feel like you need a mentor, go and find you a mentor. You know what I'm saying? But don't just sit there and waddle in the self-doubt and the negative self-talk and the negative distortions, those negative thoughts. Because if you do that, then you're just going to spiral. And, and it's the sadness, the fear, the self-doubt, it's all going to grow. Right? And before you know it, 5 years will pass by and you're still talking about the same goal that you wanted to achieve. You get what I'm saying? And so, sidebar, in the last, so when we talked about what are some of the causes of imposter syndrome, perfectionism was one of those, right? And so what we don't want to do is allow that perfectionism to come in and then cause you to freeze because things aren't perfect. Okay? Take action. Don't allow that fear to bring in that flight, fight, or freeze protective factor. Right? Slow things down if everything is going too fast and that imposter syndrome is overwhelming you. Slow things down. Try not to do too many things at one time. Focus on one area, one time. Take it one step at a time. Okay? One step at a time. So take action. Put these steps to use. Do not sit on your butt and have a pity party. Okay? Because it's easy to have a pity party. Right? It's easy to take the easy route, and the easy route is no action. Sitting in the sadness, the depression, the self-defeat, the self-doubt, that's just easy, right? Because you don't have to do anything but sit in those negative thoughts. But to take action, it causes you to have to get up and get active. You know what I'm saying? So take action is strategy number 5 today. Okay. All right. So strategy number 6 is going to be visualize success. See yourself already there. Right? Excuse me. Visualize yourself succeeding and achieving your goals, right? And use this as motivation to overcome the feelings of self-doubt, right? The feelings of feeling inadequate. See yourself already at the finish line. What is that? Sit down and think about, let's just say if you want to change careers, and you may have to go to college, right? Or take a CEU or a certification or, something like that, right? See yourself on the other end with that certification already complete, and see yourself already in the position that you want to have, right? And think about all the things that are going to change in your life in a positive manner. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that. Think about what life is going to look like, feel like, how you're going to feel, your happiness level, what it's going to do for your family, your finances, how you can bless other people, like really see yourself there. Get excited about that. You know what I'm saying? Today's life is so fast paced. We don't even daydream anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we do when we daydream. We go off to another place and we can see ourselves already there. You know what I'm saying? And so visualize the success, right? If you want to be a speaker, if you want to start your own business, see yourself there already, as they say with manifestation, right? See yourself already successful. See yourself already being a teacher. See yourself already, being a nurse. See yourself already being in management. What is that going to feel like? Write it out. What is it going to feel like? What is it going to look like? What are the blessings that are going to come from that? And as you write it out, right? Write it out. Don't, you can sit and think about it as you kind of like daydream and visualize. But after you do that, write it down. As they say, write it down and make it plain. You know what I'm saying? Put it on your vision board, right? Or, put it somewhere where you can go back and keep looking at it every time you get discouraged and that inadequacy and self-doubt pops up. Okay? And sometimes when we write things down, it's like we can really see it clearer. I'm a visual person, so if I can't see it, like visually, I can't understand it. So write it down, right? So you can always go back to it. Also, when we write things down, we are isolating those thoughts, right? And we're getting it out of our head on paper. And now it's not competing with the other 5 or 10 thoughts that we have floating around in our head as well. Okay? So visualize that success. Like I'm telling y'all now, this is something that I do. Right? This is something that I do. I get it because it gets me excited. It's like I could feel it, and it motivates me even more. Like, that's why this is so good too, because it helps to motivate you so much when you can see yourself on the other side of, with the victory, So visualize the success, whether it's on the job, in your relationships, either way, like visualize yourself on the other end of that goal. Okay. All right. Next, we are going to move to number 7. We're going to talk about stay humble. Right? Stay humble. Because sometimes when we are really like, now I don't see anything wrong with tooting your horn. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you worked your butt off and did what you need to do, yes, toot all day long. All day long. Toot that horn, honey. Right? But also stay humble. While it's important to recognize your successes, it's also important to stay humble and continue learning and growing. Nobody knows it all. You know what I'm saying? And even if you're in a field, like I'm a social worker, right? I'm a social worker and then a therapist. And our field is constantly changing. Constantly. So I have to, like, when I finish this episode, I am going to go and finish not finish, but continue to work on a self-esteem training that I'm doing, right? Constantly learning and growing. On my computer, I think I have about 5 different tabs with like 5 different articles on different topics that I want to read so I can continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? I know that, losing my mom, I kind of stopped everything. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't doing, my research the way that I usually would. I just really had to give myself time to start that healing process. I needed to get to a certain place in my healing before I could start back doing all the things that I usually do. Right? So continue to learn and grow. Don't ever get to a place where you think you know it all. Because I'll tell you this, when you get to that place, you will be left behind. Because other people in your field will continue to learn and grow and eat up that knowledge, and you will be left behind with old stale knowledge, and you will not be abreast of what all the new things that are happening in your career. So stay humble. Recognize your successes, but it's also important to stay humble and to continue to learn and grow. Because if we are ever learning beings, right? And so I remember this. It's funny because I can remember stuff, but then when I really need to remember something, I can't. But anyways, I remember this interview I saw with Oprah. And the guy asked Oprah what gave her the audacity to start a television network. I think she was like about 66, 68, somewhere in there. And Oprah said, because you're never too old to accomplish your goals. And she said that I am a ever learning being. And so therefore, I plan to continue to learn and do things until my last breath. Right? Sometimes people get so caught up in I'm old, or I'm getting old. I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too this, I'm too that. Honey, please. Because I thought that when I went to college at 30. Right? Oh my God, I'm going to be the old head in class. I'm going to be in there with these little 18-year-olds getting on my nerve. And then when I got to college, it was people in there 59. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, stay humble. Stay humble. It is never too late. Okay? Recognize your successes, but also don't be too arrogant to not continue to learn and grow. Okay? All right. We moving along, y'all. All right. Number 8 is going to be focus on your values and purpose. Focus on your values and purpose, because that is the root of you, right? When we think about your values, your morals, right? That sits in the foundation of who you are as a person, right? And so when we talk about values and purpose, you connect your values and purpose and use these as motivation to overcome the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome, right? If one of your values is hard work, you know what I'm saying? Then if you know that you are a hard worker, then therefore you know that you're going to set out and do your best, right? You know that you are going to put your best foot forward in order to, do your job and achieve your goals, right? So really thinking about, connect with your values, go back and remind yourself, what are my values? What are my morals and my values? What do I stand on? Right? What is my purpose, right, in life? Now, I know some people feel, some people have not recognized what their purpose is and some have. Now, I am a believer. I don't think that you're supposed to go out and find your purpose. I believe that your purpose finds you, right? But, you won't find your purpose if you are putting up blocks and barriers to what God may have in store for you. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's so important to give yourself time to listen to what God is trying to say. Listen, for his whispers, and listen when he show up in your life. I'm telling y'all, my life, honey, I got so many testimonies. It's ridiculous. I got to get this camera going because I need to share my story. I have so many stories, but I really do need to share my story because my life is a testimony. How I came into this earth, into this world, is a testimony. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm supposed to be here without a shadow of a doubt. God bless my twin sister. I hate that she's not here. I always think about what would it be like to have two Tamicases. Her name was Amicus and mine is Tamika's. And man, I feel that I could not waste this life because I feel like I'm living this life for me and her. You know what I'm saying? And if I were to waste this life, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. But if I were to waste this life and she didn't get to live this life, then I just could not see that as fair. You know what I'm saying? So I am really, my whole life I've lived wanting to make sure that I put my imprint out here in this world for me and for her. All right. So connect with your values, right? Connect with your values because that is our foundation. But as I was saying, I'm sorry, I almost lost track there. But when it comes to purpose, I do believe that you have to, as I was saying, you have to get still and quiet and hear what God is trying to tell you, as well as watch for his lead. Watch for his lead. Because if you're saying no to, I ain't doing that. I don't want to do that. I ain't doing that. You have no idea, why God is placing you somewhere. But everything don't need to be a no. Right? Like for those who don't know, my first career, I was a cosmetologist for 15 years, right? Out of high school, I was working at Captain D's. And I was working at Six Flags. And I literally never in my life wanted to do hair. I could not do my own hair. Okay. I was a ponytail and bang girl because I played basketball from 7th through 12th grade. Right. So I really didn't have time for the cute hairstyles all the time. Right. And so I was constantly, I was a flag girl. I was constantly in stuff. And so I did not know how to do hair. Like I did not at all. Right. I knew how to do the box braids, and I learned by using paper. What was it? It was some paper towels or something. And that's a whole nother story. But I didn't know how to do hair at all. Never wanted to be a hairstylist. Never thought about being a hairstylist. Nobody in my family had ever been a hairstylist. I had only been to the salons a couple of times in my life. So that was not on the radar in no form or fashion. And literally, I cannot remember where I was coming from, but I had my uniform in the car with me. And I pulled over at this, over in the West End, there was this beauty school called Faye's Institute of Cosmetology. It was a private school over where 559 used to be. And y'all, I went in there to use their bathroom. I asked if I could use their restroom. And went in to use the restroom so I could put on my Captain D's uniform because Captain D's was right down the street. And came out signed up, y'all. Me and my mama was shocked. We were shocked, okay? And so, but I didn't fight it. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, I was like, what? Why did I sign up for cosmetology? Right. And when I thought about it, like when I look back at that entire story, that was nothing but God. How everything lined up. Y'all, oh my God, it was nothing but God. And so I didn't fight that. You know what I'm saying? I went on ahead, I moved with it, and I ended up being fantastic at hair. I was a short hair queen, but I could do it all. Black, white, weave, cut, color. I mean, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ended up being a really great stylist, had some fantastic opportunities in hair books. I had the opportunity to try to go and do Fantasia's hair, but unfortunately she brought her stylist with her, but I did get to meet her. Like, I ended up being great at it. I didn't fight it. That's where God wanted to place me, right? We're talking about purpose. So that's where God wanted to place me, and I didn't fight it. And once I joined that school, probably a couple of weeks later, my professor told me that there was a salon right down the street, walking distance, less than 5 minutes, that was hiring for a shampoo girl. Went and got interviewed and hired on the spot. Hello? I ended up working at that salon for 13 years. Like, everything just was like, it was for me. Like, God had already set that up for me, and I did not fight him on that. And I walked the path, and I did what he wanted me to do. You know what I'm saying? And then it was cosmetology that led me to become a social worker and a therapist. Like, it's crazy. So my purpose found me. I didn't find my purpose. I didn't go and seek my purpose. My purpose came to me by me simply going about God's plan for my life. I didn't fight it. You know what I'm saying? When I was like, why in the world did I sign up for cosmetology? And I rolled with it. It beat Captain D's and Six Flags. I can tell you that. So I want you to think about that. Are you putting any barriers? Have God tried to place you somewhere and you said no, and then you look back and you recognize that you missed a great opportunity? Sugar, that was God. God was trying to put you somewhere. He was trying to advance you and set you up, but you denied him. So pay close attention to that, because your purpose, it'll come to you. But you got to make sure that your life ain't so super busy, and, make time to sit with yourself, to sit and think, to sit with your thoughts, to sit with the Lord in prayer and worship and in the word. You know what I'm saying? So that you can hear his direction, right? So that's just my little spiel. If you believe that you can go find your purpose, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel, in my belief system, and this is not everybody's, but I do feel that my life has already been orchestrated by the Lord. And so all he want me to do is show up. I showed up that day, y'all. I showed up by you asking, excuse me, but can I use your restroom? And look at God. Came out that restroom. I don't remember having the conversation and see. I don't know what happened once I walked in. Like, I don't. I just remember going in, asking to use the restroom, and the rest is history. Like, for real. I don't remember sitting down with someone, talking to them about school, paperwork, nothing. Like, yeah. So focus on your values, your morals, and your purpose. Okay? Because I'm telling you, that purpose, it will come, and it'll come. It will come, but you have to make sure that you are not putting up barriers to block it. Surrender. Trust God. He is not going to lead you wrong. Whoever your God is, you know what I'm saying? Trust your higher power, because she will not lead you wrong. Okay? All right. Next, number 9 is going to be seek professional help. Now, if imposter syndrome is causing some significant distress, or if it's interfering with your daily life and functioning, consider seeking help with a mental health professional, right? Go get you a therapist. Go and get you a certified professional life coach, right? And get some help when it comes to this imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome, it can wreak havoc now. It can start messing up your life and your functioning. You know what I'm saying? Recognize that everyone experiences self-doubt. Remember that imposter syndrome is a common experience and that even successful people experience self-doubt and insecurity. You know what I'm saying? So think about Andre 3000. Remember how successful he was. You know what I'm like, still is. I mean, I think the last song was with J. Cole. I absolutely loved it. But those who know me know I love me some Andre 3000, child. Ooh, he used to come into the salon. Ooh, honey, I would just melt. Okay. Let me get back focused. But boy, did I love some Andre 3000. Still do. And so, really nice guy too. And so, when we think about his career, Andre was the shizzle. Andre was everything, right? He was very creative, gifted in rap. He could sing, act. Like, he was so handsome to me. Really nice person in person. But Andre was, won a lot of awards. But now Andre suffers with social anxiety. You know, every time he think about, going on stage, he gets super anxious. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's because, that's a lot. I mean, I can do a whole episode on that, but I just think that he wasn't properly supported, back when he was, when he was really like popping and doing his thing. And so, Andre, it's almost like he's afraid, that anxiety is fear. So he's afraid to get back on the stage, and he's afraid of what people are going to think, or, he think that he doesn't still have it, and, that type of thing. And so everybody is saying that he's weird and odd now, but, Andre has always been unique. You know what I'm saying? And, he has the right to live his life the way he wants to, but, that self-doubt and that insecurity can definitely creep in. And that happens to a lot of famous people after the success has kind of died down, Now, Andre, his didn't die down. He just stepped down, right? It was just becoming too much for him, and he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it anymore. And so when we think about Andre's career, as you can see that, I think he may have been suffering from imposter syndrome as well. I think he just got to a point in his career to where that social anxiety was causing him to have imposter syndrome, and he could no longer get out in front of the world and perform. So that started to negatively affect his daily life and his functioning. Right? If you have imposter syndrome, it's going to stop you from asking for that raise, knowing you need the extra money. It's going to stop you from asking for that promotion, knowing that you have professional goals that you want to achieve. Right? Knowing that you want to, get a higher salary so you can purchase a home for you and your family, so you can send your kids to college, so you can buy you a new reliable car. You know what I'm saying? So that imposter syndrome would definitely that causes functioning issues. You know what I'm saying? If you are an artist or, a performer or, and you're afraid to get on the stage, functioning issue. So seek professional help. You can sit down with a therapist because a lot of times when people have imposter syndrome to where it is affecting your daily life and your functioning, depression is not far behind, or anxiety is a close cousin. Right? So, of course, you can't just, if you're paying out of pocket, you can go to therapy for it. But if you're using insurance is not, there's no diagnosis for imposter syndrome. But there is one for anxiety and depression, right? As well as adjustment disorder. Okay. So, number 9, seek professional help if it is causing some daily life and functioning issues. Okay. All right. And if you know anybody that can benefit from these 2 episodes, please share it with them. If you feel like, imposter syndrome has stopped them, send the links to this. Okay. I'm on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean, pretty much a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? So just look me up, Mission Dorothy. Well, y'all know because y'all here, right? Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so that was number 9. Number 10 is use self-reflection. Use self-reflection is number 10. Engage in self-reflection and take time to reflect on your accomplishments and areas for growth, right? Rather than solely focusing on your perceived weaknesses and failures. Sometimes we're moving so fast, we really don't take stock of all of our accomplishments, going back to celebrate your accomplishments. But, sometimes it just takes, go back, like a self-reflect activity is really going back and looking at your resume. Go back and look at your resume. Go back and look at your job description, right? Because it will let you know all your skill sets, and sometimes you just need that refreshment. If you've been on your job for a good amount of time, sometimes we just need that refreshment to remind ourselves of what it is we are responsible for doing. But also just looking back over the years at your resume, just to see all the skills that you have acquired over the years and over your work history, right? So self-reflect, take time to reflect on your skill sets, your accomplishments, okay? And it will remind you of your capability. And when you know what you're capable of and you stay in your lane, imposter syndrome can't grow there. Right? It cannot grow there. So instead of focusing on your weaknesses and your failures, focus on your strengths. Focus on your accomplishments while continuing to learn and grow. Right? So self-reflect. If you made some mistakes in the past, don't focus on the fact that you failed. Focus on what you learned from the failure. The lesson in the failure. Okay? Use self-reflection. All right? So that was my 10 steps to add to episode number 1, part 1, when it comes to imposter syndrome. Okay? So let me go over these 10 steps real quick for you, so you can write them down really fast. So number 1, identify and label imposter syndrome, right? Identify the triggers, identify the people, identify the environment where imposter syndrome comes up. Number 2 is acknowledge your successes. Number 3 is embrace mistakes and failures. Number 4 is seek feedback. Number 5 is take action. Number 6 is visualize success. Number 7 is stay humble. Number 8 is focus on your values, morals, and purpose. Number 9 is seek professional help. And number 10 is use self-reflection. Okay? So I hope that these, the 10 today and the 10 from the last episode, I hope that these strategies really help you guys work toward beating imposter syndrome. No longer allowing all the different masks. You know what I'm saying? The goal is to show up as your authentic self, right? Your authentic self, not this fake perfectionist, Lord, I can't even, role or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, show up as your authentic self and understand that no, you may not succeed at everything, but remember your resilience. Remember, that you have God on your side or your higher power. But I really do hope that these 20 strategies helped you guys to deal with it better or overcome imposter syndrome. And if you're in therapy, please make sure that you discuss this with your therapist. Also, if you have my Consciously Choosing Me or Letting Go of What No Longer Serves Me therapy companion workbooks, there is a handout in there related to imposter syndrome, where the goal for that exercise is for you to kind of give your life some thoughts so that you can identify, how imposter syndrome shows up in your life so that you can go ahead and talk with your therapist about it. Right? You will write down the ways that you feel like an imposter. Right? So there is, if you do have the workbook, if you don't, please get it. But if you get the workbook and journal, it's page 59, imposter syndrome. Okay. And what you write down on that page, you will take it back to your therapist or your coach and process that with them. Okay. All right, you guys. So this is it for this topic, imposter syndrome. Perhaps, who knows, I might come back, do a third episode. Y'all let me know. Hit me up in the email or leave a question in the Q&A if you're on Anchor or on Apple in the comments. Let me know if I need to continue to talk about this a little bit more. If you have some questions, let me know. And I'll work to compile questions, and then I could do an episode on, just a Q&A. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Please share this with someone that you feel may be struggling with imposter syndrome. And I will talk with you guys in the next episode. Until then, have a fantastic one. Live authentically, and let's work on this imposter syndrome. Okay. All right, you guys. Later. Bye.